Alright, I got a new header on the WR today. I'm anxious to show it to y'all. So I'll get up here and I'll pull over and I'll show you the brand new header that it's sporting. Let y'all check it out. There it is. But Hermit, isn't that the stock header? Yep, it is. But Hermit, weren't you running an FMF Megabomb before? Yes, I was. Let's go talk about it. Here's some questions about the FMF Megabomb. How come you never see like professional racers using it unless they're actually sponsored by FMF? And here's another one. How come the exhaust chamber is like exactly the same? The expansion chamber? I mean, it's the exact same design no matter what motorcycle you're bolting it to. You'd think like a 250 would need something different than a 450, right? How come manufacturers don't put something like that on the motorcycle when they sell it to you? I mean, I know they got to keep their costs down, and it maybe costs an extra 50 bucks to make something like that on there, but you know, KTM, Husqvarna, Beta, they obviously don't give a crap about how much it costs to make a bike. How come they're not doing it? Huh? So bottom line, if you're thinking about getting an FMF Megabomb, I'd say don't. I'd say, you know, probably stick with the stock pipe. I think it's better. In fact, especially for supermoto, if you're doing a supermoto WR 250R, you definitely don't need it, because you know the way it is with the stock pipe is when you get up to around 6,000 RPMs, it gets what I call a phantom turbo. You know, it just the bike kind of surges from like 6,000 on up to where to almost redline, and it's really fun to ride it like that on the street. It doesn't do me as much good on the trail, but that's how it is on the street. And the only thing that Megabomb could possibly maybe be doing, but I can't tell you for sure, even after riding it for a year, is making it where you're slightly less likely to stall on a trail because it's got a little bit more power low end. But it's not worth it, because this thing is so much more fun to ride if you ring it out with the stock header. So I got to thinking, how that happened. How did I end up spending 230 bucks or something on a header that maybe makes the bike I don't know, like a tenth of a second faster in a hair scramble or something, but you know, it doesn't help me do anything. So here's the thing with like a lot of aftermarket parts, like if you're racing, then maybe that makes a difference to you. Maybe you care about a tenth of a second or something. But if you're not racing, then do you really need that crap? Is it really doing you any good? I mean, why are we buying it? Why are we buying stuff like that if all it does is kind of trick us into thinking the bike feels a little better? But in reality, it's not. In fact, once we get used to it, it's doing us no good at all. In fact, in the case of this Megabomb with me, I went back to the stock pipe, and it actually felt better. I mean, it actually is a much better experience whenever I ring it out with the stock header on there. So why are we buying these parts if they're not really doing us that much good? I mean, why do we keep doing this? And I got to thinking about it, and I got to really thinking about it, and then I started researching it, and I petitioned some government documents. Because the government can't get anything right, they sent me the originals by accident in some cases, and so I did some backwoods chemistry and unredacted some things, and I found out that there's actually a vast left-wing conspiracy behind aftermarket motorcycle parts. So basically, before World War II, the way Democrats stayed in power was basically based on immigration. People would come over from Europe, and they get them signed up as Democrats as soon as they could, and you know, get them voting for them, and that's how they stayed in power. But then after World War II, we had a problem. Because see, that worked so long as you could take those people and make them dependent on the government and tell them that the reason that they couldn't get ahead wasn't actually because they were used to being dependent on other people, but because rich people didn't like them. But after World War II, we had a problem because we built up so much industry infrastructure to fight the war that we knew that after the war, all that infrastructure would be surplus, and it would basically mean that there'd be a lot stronger economy and a lot wealthier people. And a lot of people before who had very little would start having more, and then they would be a lot harder to control. So what the Democrats needed was a way to keep the people they were concerned about poor, specifically rednecks, more specifically southern rednecks. So what they needed was a way to keep money out of the hands of southern rednecks. And what they came up with was aftermarket motorcycle parts. And it took them a while to get going. I mean, it took them decades. But they got it full steam now. I mean, basically what they did is they went to the Japanese, because the Japanese lost the war, and they were desperate for customers. And they said to the Japanese, you know, like, hey, we're going to set this thing up. We're going to give you guys a way to make some money and build your country back up, as long as you make products targeted towards rednecks so that they won't spend their money on smart things. Instead, they'll spend money on stupid things like motorcycles and stay out of power. So if you think none of this makes sense, let me ask you a question. How many times do you think a conversation like this has happened? I ain't going to buy me a Toyota. I'm going to get me a Chevy truck because I'm American. What are you going to do with your Chevy truck? I'm going to put my Kawasaki in the back of it and go ride some trails. All right? See? So basically, it's just a vast left-wing conspiracy. They basically have the Japanese making motorcycles that they know that we're going to buy, and they have a whole bunch of third parties making aftermarket parts that we don't really need because they don't really do anything, but they know that we're going to, like, pop it on the bike, and the bike's going to have, like, you know, a little bit deeper exhaust note, and we're going to go, oh, wow, that's a whole lot faster, when really it's just a bunch of crap. So every time we get used to what we got, they come up with something else that's even stupider. You know, we get used to motorcycles and buying motorcycle parts, and they're like, oh, you know what, let's make three-wheelers. Yeah, let's give them three-wheelers, because three-wheelers, you know, they'll be really unstable, and they'll get themselves killed, and then we don't even need to worry about getting money from them. But, you know, the ones that have them, they can just go ahead and spend money on aftermarket parts on three-wheelers, and then the three-wheelers went away, and I'm like, well, let's get some four-wheelers, some ATVs, you know, that's kind of like motorcycles, only they're like really heavy and they'll like roll over and kill a bunch of them, and then they'll still be able to a whole bunch of money because they'll be spending money on parts that they don't need to buy, and then they're like, oh, you know what, let's make side-by-sides. Yeah, let's do side-by-side. That's a great idea. Now they're actually strapped down to the thing when it rolls over, and they're spending $20,000 on something that's less capable than a Jeep, and you can't drive it home. So yeah, that's a great idea, and we keep falling for it. So anyways, that's what I found out. I just thought I'd pass it on to you guys, and I think that pretty much explains why that FMF Megabomb didn't do me any good at all. You know, they do make a power bomb. I think I'm going to buy me one of those and try that. Y'all have a good week. Over and out.